In today's fast-paced world, self-care is essential, but it need not be expensive. Embracing affordable wellness practices can be both fulfilling and financially savvy. Physical activity is the cornerstone of wellness. Options like home workouts, yoga, or brisk walking offer fitness without financial strain. Integrating these into your daily routine can boost both physical and mental health. Nutrition plays a key role. Eating healthy on a budget is achievable through smart choices like meal planning and buying seasonal produce. Cooking at home not only saves money, but also ensures a healthier diet. Mental wellness, equally important, can be nurtured through mindfulness and meditation. Free resources, including apps and online videos, offer easy access to these practices. Additionally, journaling serves as an inexpensive yet effective tool for mental clarity and emotional processing. Social interactions enhance wellness too. Engaging in community activities or volunteering can enrich your life, creating a sense of connection and purpose. Remember, self-care is an investment in your well-being. With these budget-friendly strategies, maintaining a holistic wellness routine becomes accessible and manageable for everyone. So, Toby, especially during the pandemic, everybody was cooking at home more, and certainly that can be cheaper. Your 3 ingredient cookbook, I like that it's simple and easy. Can you talk a little bit about like how do we cook at home so that it's easier and we can keep it going?
So my style for all 10, and I have an 11th one coming out too. I just finished writing it on health tonics, actually. So my
You're a
10 are
machine.
created. Yeah. They're created to be simple ingredients you can find and afford. So I don't have to find them crazy on the internet. So I can find them at my local supermarkets. And they're made to be done not within hours, but within 30 minutes, 45 minutes, like short period of time, because we all have hustle and bustle, and we actually, we savor every moment and we can't figure out what to do in every moment. So something usually slides. And there's actually a study that shows that people who try to fit in both exercise and like cooking at home, they usually one goes for the other. Like you just can't get it all done. And so doing things, I have 3 meal prep cookbooks, doing things like meal prep, or I icon a lot of these recipes as freezer friendly or one pot dish or 30 minutes or less, or the 3 ingredient is basically using just fewer ingredients but still making delicious foods. And I actually did create the 3 ingredient one during the height of the pandemic, where there weren't even vaccinations and you had to go with masks. I couldn't even find all the food. Like I would have to go to several supermarkets. So I ended up shopping for like a lot of recipes, 20, 30 at once, just so I could not go into the supermarket so many times during the pandemic. But I mean, the cooking those recipes were made for my son who's in college, who didn't learn while I was testing the recipes. My girls know how to cook everything. My son wasn't in the kitchen. So they're made for people living alone, living 1 or 2 people, just don't really love cooking and just want a couple of quick and easy meals, or just anyone who just wants something fast. And I have the recipes, they're translated for like 2, 4, 6 people. And then they're also, they're basically, I'll write, let's say milk, and then I'll make a healthier selection, or, bread, and then I'll make a healthier selection under Toby's tips. So you can healthify it or make it a little bit healthier for you. The book's premise really was just to help people get in the kitchen and cook a little. So nutrition analysis purposely isn't there because I didn't want to start confused. I just wanted them to cook. I really, just get your hands dirty in the kitchen.
Manisha, over your circuitous career path, because you've been involved in the institutional side of money management, now you've transitioned more to working with individuals and families. You credit the connections and relationships you've made along the way. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. One of the biggest pieces of advice I give to young people that I'm mentoring is that your future income stream as one of your biggest assets, and the people that you meet along the way, don't forget to invest time in them. It will help your career, which will help your financial health, but those connections will also help build your emotional wealth. And what I've noticed is that we've become so transactional oftentimes in our relationships. Just think about it. We change jobs now every 2 to 3 years, and oftentimes we keep in touch with former coworkers via LinkedIn for a year, and then we're off to our new office family. And when I was doing the research to figure out how I ended up emotionally bankrupt, I spoke with a woman who ran a hypertension center at the University of Colorado. And one of the things that she observed, I found fascinating. The individuals who followed all the healthy activities that we're talking about here and managed to get their hypertension under control, almost always subconsciously were following a formula that is her mantra. Her name is Mary Laverde, and the mantra is connection creates balance. And the idea is when you feel discombobulated in any way, mentally, physically, spiritually, ask yourself, in this moment, to who or what do I need to connect to move incrementally closer to feeling better? And I think that our Surgeon General says right now we are suffering a loneliness epidemic in this country. And I think connection can help us both increase financial health and emotional wealth. And it's low cost.
I love that.
I agree entirely about that loneliness situation. I think that that's one of the products of sort of social media and everyone online all the time. They don't actually have, as my son would call it, IRL relationships.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you on here, that it's in real life. I was recently informed that's what that means. And that's a big deal. And I would concur with Manisha. Please develop IRL relationships. You will smile a heck of a lot more.
Mike, you're a hell of a good investor, trader. You don't appear to me to be like a self-care guy, are you?
What does self-care mean? By your definition. I'm sorry.
For me, self-care means actually taking time not to think about companies, earnings reports, what's going on in the financial markets, and like taking time for yourself, in whatever form that means.
Well, part of the success in running a hedge fund is that you are, generally speaking, not wired like other people. And I'm certain that I was not. My guys on my desk would ask me, like, okay, you made a lot of money. When are you going to retire? When do you put this away? Because many who run a hedge fund dream of that. And I've always told them, look, my goal is to exit this desk in a body bag because it's my happiest place on earth. I love the puzzle of investing and figuring out success stories and frauds, hopefully before everyone else does, and betting on it and moving on. And I just love the challenge of doing so. So self-care, stepping back and paying attention to those sort of things, for me, my self-care really was doing what I love, which is this. So and I know that I am a rarity and that I can just keep going and going and going and find great joy from it. But one thing that has changed greatly over the past 8 years, and especially over the past 4 years, and I want to thank all of you investors out there that have reached out to me, because up until 2020, I was under a CDA for 20 years, essentially, where I could not talk or interact with the public. And I didn't realize how lonely I was interacting with my very small group of super experts. And that's it. And that was my world. And it's only been since I'm out of the CDA and I can interact with the rest of the world that has opened my eyes entirely to the psyche that I didn't even know existed. And I thought I knew what existed until I was out of that CDA and I could interact with actual real people that aren't Wall Street super specialists. I didn't, that's the whole part of being in a bubble. You don't realize you're in the bubble until you're out. And I'm very, very pleased to be out of that bubble. Don't get me wrong. I still want to exit this world in a body bag off the desk. Okay. So some things never change, but I have much greater joy being a step outside of that bubble.
So I was right having trouble envisioning you doing yoga.
I've been invited.
Yeah, that's the first step.
Can I make a comment about self-care? So Mike is really lucky because he has a lot of self-awareness about what caring for himself is and what the most important ingredient of that is for him. But in society, we have been taught there are so many ways to take care of ourselves. There's healthy eating, there's exercise, there's meditation, there's getting enough sleep, and on and on and on. And I think for many people, they don't have the same kind of self-awareness that Mike knows for himself. And so they feel like they need to do everything, and often at the same time. And that is just a recipe. If you want to take care of yourself behaviorally in new ways and you try to do too much at once. In fact, Toby mentioned a study, I think, where you said that people who tried to exercise and change their eating, that one thing, had to go or the other. And so I think I think we need to help people understand that it might be more adaptive if people choose one behavior to focus on, to learn, to master, to become consistent with, the one behavior that maybe they most feel like Manisha said, find the connection that you need right now. What is that? In the same way, what is potentially the behavior that could most help people renew and fuel themselves? And then focus on that instead of feeling like you're not doing enough because you're not doing everything.
I would also encourage for that wealth and health, something that gets overlooked so often is your occupation. And I believe that perhaps a majority of individuals are in a job that they don't love. And I'll give you an example. My dad worked as a Wall Street credit analyst for his entire life on Wall Street. And he'd commute in every day and go out, and whenever he had free time, any free time, every weekend, he was gardening. He was a gardener coming from many generations of gardening. And when he retired, he started a landscaping and gardening consultancy. He makes more money now than when he did on Wall Street. And I'm like, what the hell were you doing, Dad? You hated your job. And he was vocal about it. But he did it because he didn't want to take the risk of going out on his own and doing something that he loved. And now that he had nothing to lose at 65 years old, he goes out and he does it. And he's more profitable and happier now doing what he always wanted to do. Why didn't you start that sooner? It was because he was afraid. He's 80 now, and he will be out there landscaping and gardening in 95-degree heat for 12 hours. Doesn't think a thing about it. By the way, if you ever run into him on a tennis court, don't play. You're going to get toasted, that poor guy.
No, I play competitive tennis.
He plays people that are sub 50 years old, okay? So that's it. But I think that is something to live by. Really. And I would encourage everyone, write down your list of things that you love, a big list, write 15 things down, circle the top 5 and figure out how you can do a career doing that. And I don't care what it is. Like in there, you will find something that you can occupy yourself in a career doing something that you love, and take that risk and do it. Independent of your age, because as all of you know, and I know, and especially those that had brushes with death, you only get to do this once. Every time. It's not like, oh, I'll do it next time. There is no next time. So you better go big now, because our life is measured in days, not years.
What Mike is talking about, I think, is so powerful. I know when I look back at my earnings trajectory, what screams at me is when I've made the most money, I've been doing things that I would have done for free because I loved them so much. And so I felt joy. And the periods of my life where I made the least money was when I was doing jobs I didn't like, that I felt I should be doing. And I want to, for anybody who right now is listening to this and thinking, well, I don't have as much energy as Mike and his dad. You know, how do I think about work in a healthy way to make sure that I'm making enough, but I don't want to be that interested in it. I learned about a concept because I'm a classic workaholic, filling my childhood wounds with work. To try and find self-esteem, which is never a good recipe, that the difference between workaholism and somebody like Mike or Mike's dad, who Mike and Mike's dad are engaging in what experts would call workaholism experts, which that's now a field, positive work engagement, which means it doesn't matter how many hours, maybe it's 12 hours a day, maybe it's 4 hours a day. And however long it is, that's not important. What's important is when you're working in flow. But when you're not working, you are completely disconnected. And even if you're not working, period is a very short amount of hours in the day, by being present in those minutes and hours, you are rejuvenating yourself in a way that keeps you from falling into a workaholic bucket. So when I hear people say, like, I can't see myself stop working, and they're genuinely smiling, not running away from something, it's because, like Mike and his dad, they have positive work engagement.
Well, we don't call it work.
Right.
And I'll just piggyback on Manisha. Basically, because I do most of my work at home, so when I want to kick back, when I'm at home, I see my work and I feel like I'm not disengaging from it a lot of times. And I'm not one really to sit in front of the TV. So that's why I will play your dad in tennis, but I do play. I captain and I play on a full handful of competitive tennis teams. So, that's kind of like my social life and my but it has to be out of the house. Like when I do my exercise classes, I have one gym where I do it. It's spin or tennis. It's out of the house. And that's a way that my mind is outside of the work. My stress a little bit alleviates that way. And then I can also have a social environment like that. So you have to reflect on like your own life and what works for you. And if it's a different room or one room you're working in, whatever, works for you best.
Powerful stuff. Let's go to segment 3.